back after her and so nervous. But we made it, you guys. This is it. I am so excited to be standing here today. I imagine we all know what a privilege it is to be graduating from what some consider to be the top public university in the world.
Yes.
Public school is awesome, but even more importantly, this means we made it out of U-Haul before the big earthquake hit, so I'm psyched. I'm sure there's something to be said for like huddling together in the public health lounge all those nights in the dark, but we made it and here we are. So I'm here after an epic 9-year journey. In 2011, I had just graduated with my bachelor's degree at age 32. I was older. And I became the first in my family to do so. That's exciting.
So proud of you!
And after I graduated, I was actually visiting my friend and mentor, Leslie Simon, who's in the audience today from City College of San Francisco. She's amazing. And I was talking to her about how relieved I was to just be through with school, have it over, have my degree, I'm good to go. And she was like, oh no, now you're gonna go to a Master's of Public Health at Berkeley. And I was like, what's public health? I didn't actually totally understand what it meant, so, but luckily I filed that away for a few more years, and after toiling as an underpaid worker at struggling nonprofits, I was like, yeah, you're right. So here I am, and I'm excited to be here. So as a high school dropout, I did not imagine I would be up here today. For a long time, I stayed as far from formal schooling as I could. Instead, I wanted to be an anti-racist, radical, queer, vegan, anarchist, feminist, street fighter, which is awesome. I was determined to tear down the prison industrial complex, and I still am. And after more than 15 years of agitating for change in street-based direct action organizing, I conceded that I was also going to need to be a little more strategic and a lot more powerful if I wanted to attack the problems of social injustice at the roots. So, here I am. I came to Berkeley to learn how to create change on a broader and more structural level, and in some ways I really have. So, while my personal experience isn't necessarily the norm here, I really quickly discovered that I have a lot more in common with my fellow students, staff, and faculty members than I really could have imagined. I did not think I was going to fit in at this school, as a returning student also. But the reality is that every single person who's graduating today is here because they are passionate about creating a healthier world, and that means fighting for justice. The richness and depth of experiences in this entire auditorium, as Monica was a beautiful example of, could fill an entire library. My peers at the School of Public Health are first and second generation immigrants, are LGBT and Q, span several generations, are Black and brown, live with disabilities, both visible and hidden, have struggled with addictions and made it through, have lost loved ones to violence, and so many of us are women. So that's amazing. And we're here because we refuse to let the world treat us and our communities as if we don't matter. We all belong here, and the sense of camaraderie, solidarity, and love that I've encountered in my time here at UC Berkeley are unparalleled. And of course, I'm not saying things are perfect. Our school, like those at public universities across the whole state and this entire country, is struggling to keep alive the promise of higher education in spite of unrelenting funding cuts and rising costs. Fewer and fewer people from working class families are able to afford an education like this, and that is a huge problem. Our class sizes are growing, our faculty and staff are overburdened, and diversity continues to be a major challenge at all levels of this institution, and especially at the top. Yeah, so we got work to do. And we're doing the work, we are resisting. So here at the School of Public Health, I've had the privilege of serving on the Diversity, Inclusion, Community, and Equity Committee. Yeah, nice! I've worked with student government and collaborated with student-led initiatives like the Borders and Bodies Collective, the SPH Action Group, and skill to ensure that our school is actively addressing the most urgent social issues that threaten our broader communities. I am consistently blown away by the energy that students, staff, and faculty here put in to make not only UC Berkeley, but the world at large a healthier, safer, and more just place. Every person I've met is making a unique contribution to our collective future, and the opportunity to have worked with so many of you is a privilege for which I will always be grateful. So now, as we get ready to scatter out into the world, armed with our newfound knowledge and credentials and everything else we've learned, I just want to say a few words about the way we wield those. I don't think that anybody's going to disagree that as public health practitioners, we owe it to ourselves and the communities we serve to take everything we've learned and use it to create more equitable opportunities at all levels. But what does this actually look like? I think it starts with recognizing the privileges that each of us has and being honest with ourselves about what responsibilities those entail. It means striving to think critically about power dynamics at literally every level of our lives, from our decisions about what we eat and where, who benefits and suffers as a result of those decisions, to how we treat our partners, our clients, our coworkers, all the way up to prioritizing those most in need in the national and global policy work that many of us will go on to engage with. That's right. Thank you. It means holding ourselves accountable for the ways we interact in the world, particularly with people who are in positions of less power than we have. And you know the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions? I think we all know that that is true. It will be tempting to accept lucrative positions that demand that we put aside our misgivings about the power dynamics enacted in many of the world's leading public health institutions. I encourage us to stand by one another as we challenge the pervasive white supremacy, neocolonialism, and gatekeeping that defines many of the organizations that we go on to work in. Thank you. We must constantly be willing to question, critique, tear down, and reinvent the systems that determine the fates of our societies. We owe a debt to those who have not been afforded the privilege to attend an elite university, to share not only our knowledge, but our social capital, and to turn over these tools to communities that need them the most. We must work to help people from within these communities. Where am I? The communities that we study, right. We want to get them into the positions that allow them to set their own agendas for their own research, not just the ones that outsiders think is important, right? What's fundable. We have to be willing to take our lead from the people who are most impacted by oppression and offer our expertise only when, where, and how it is requested. This will take patience, humility, and a lot of courage. We must be willing to ask the kinds of questions that to many might sound ridiculous. Questions like, what would it take to create a world where police and prisons are obsolete? Got a cold. And how could we put an end to economic systems that depend on the existence of a permanent underclass of people? We must not be afraid to dream and dream big. We must not let cynicism dissuade us from pursuing equity in the face of overwhelming structural resistance. We must be creative and bold and leave here ready to create the world that we all deserve to live in and embrace the fact that this is going to be a collective effort. And I'm grateful to say we are in good company. So thank you. So thank